We are asked to write an equation for a rational function with the following characteristics. A function that has a vertical asymptote at x equals 5, x-intercepts at -1, 0, and 3, 0, and a y-intercept at 0, 6. So how can we write an equation for this rational function that has all three of these characteristics? Well, what we can do is we can write it in this form. We can say f of x, some function, is equal to a, where a is just going to be some constant, multiplied by one or more factors in the numerator, and then divided by one or more factors in the denominator. So here's how we can fill in the values for this function. We'll start with the vertical asymptote. So we're told that there's an asymptote at x equals 5. What we can do with this value is use it to determine the factor in the denominator. So what we'll write for the factor in the denominator is x minus 5. Because if we plug in an x value of 5, and for x right here, we would get 5 minus 5, which is 0, which would make this entire function undefined because we can't divide by 0. So that's how we can use the vertical asymptote to write the factor in the denominator. And it turns out since there's only one vertical asymptote, we're only going to have one parentheses in the denominator. So we don't actually need this other parentheses. Okay, next we can use the x-intercepts to find the factors in the numerator. So at an x value of -1 and at an x value of 3, the graph is equal to 0, or the y value is equal to 0 at both of those x values. So for the factors in the numerator, we can write x plus 1 and x minus 3. Because we'll see if we plug in a -1 for x right here, this would be -1 plus 1, which is 0. So the whole numerator would be 0, and this entire function would be 0, and thus the output would be 0. And same thing with 3. If we plug in a 3 for x right here, we would get 3 minus 3, which is 0, which would make this whole thing 0. So that's how we can write the factors in the numerator and denominator. The last step is we can use the y-intercept to find this value of a. So the way that we do that is we plug in a 0 wherever we see an x, and we plug in a 6 for the output, or right here for the f of x. So here's what we can write. 6 is equal to a times, we're plugging in a 0 wherever we see an x. So 0 plus 1, that's just 1. 0 minus 3, that's -3. And that's all over, we're plugging in a 0 for this x, so 0 minus 5, so -5. So we get 6 is equal to, in the numerator we have -3a, and in the denominator we still have -5. So to solve for a, we can multiply both sides by -5, so we'll get 6 times -5 is -30 is equal to -3a. And then lastly, to solve for a, we can divide both sides by -3. So the -3's cancel out here, and we're left with a is equal to -30 divided by -3 is 10. So right here for a, we're going to write 10. So we'll put 10 right here. So this is our final answer. This is the equation of a rational function that has all three of these characteristics.